This was a surprise video that launched Saturday. Linus Tech Tips released a new video on their review of the GeForce Now Ultimate tier, and we just had to give our reaction to their new update. Is his review similar to ours? Let's find out.
Hey, Dad! You look like you could use an upgrade. I can get you NVIDIA's latest $1,000 GPU for just 20 bucks.
Really? What's the catch?
There's no catch, friend. With GeForce Now, you don't need to own a GPU. You can use one of NVIDIA's. They've got lots.
But cloud gaming? Come on. Everyone knows the input latency sucks, and compressed video looks super low res.
No way, buddy. With NVIDIA's new Blackwell 5080 SuperPods, those problems are in the past.
If that's true, it sounds like a pretty good deal. I mean, it would take 4 years to spend the same money on my subscription, and the service includes the whole gaming PC, not just that GPU. Besides, I already rent my games from Microsoft anyway.
Yeah! And the best part is when new generations of GPUs come out, you'll automatically have them!
Wait, NVIDIA has raised the prices with new generations before. Can I really count on that value? And what if my internet goes down? Then I can't game at all. Hey, where is the other guy that's supposed to bring up all the counterpoints?
Whoa, oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I was with our sponsor.
Oh, you.
We got, NVIDIA has consistently upgraded their hardware more recently than every 5 years. So it'd be like you buying the new card every generation.
Yep. Now, they were behind on Blackwell for several months, but they actually got it up this year. I'm surprised they didn't just wait till January, get everything updated, and just launch it at the CES for 2026. I mean, that's what I would have done, but you know.
Maybe,
whatever.
but we're about to hit that dead time around Christmas where nothing gets done. So it's either now or then.
You're right. They could sell the heck out of this right before Christmas. Yeah, I see a holiday deal
that window where nobody gets anything done.
Yeah,
and then they have it for 3 months.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Sales pitch for cloud gaming is affordability, performance, and convenience. The reason that NVIDIA actually invested untold amounts of money in cloud gaming is, of course, economics. See, the old deal was you give NVIDIA $1,000 of your dollars, they buy a nice leather jacket, and you get a GPU that you can keep for a very, very long time. But then they thought, hold on a second, what if we lease that same GPU to gamers for just $20 a month? Then we could have leather jackets forever. It's the same you'll own nothing and be happy strategy that has led to inflated prices in other markets because for the owner class, renting is more profitable than selling over time. But I don't know, maybe I'm being too harsh. Game journalists are raving about the indiscernible experience of the latest GeForce Now compared to local hardware. And it is certainly impressive what NVIDIA is doing. Taking input from your local peripherals, then running the games in a virtual machine in their data center, compressing that gameplay footage, and shooting it over the internet to your screen at up to 5K resolution, or up to 360 frames per second at 1080p. This support for higher resolutions and higher frame rates is a big improvement since we last looked at the service 4 years ago, and
yeah. We did a react to this too. So if you want to check out our react from this one, I'll put that link here.
There's more. There's a lot more titles you can play if you own them on Steam or other platforms, including Xbox Game Pass now. So I'm going to go into this with an open mind. The problem with having an open mind, though, is sometimes your brain falls out. For our test machine, we targeted the type of system that you'd probably build around an RTX 5080. Except, we're running an older, more affordable GPU, the RTX 3060. We're going to put the 5080 back in later to compare the experience of GeForce Now to running our games locally on the same hardware. Let's kick things off with Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Now, our original plan was to run our tests on our CPU's integrated graphics, and you can do that. You don't need a GPU, but in our case, our onboard graphics is limited to HDMI 2.0, meaning we would have been limited to 60 Hz 4K and couldn't have experienced the full power of the latest GeForce Now, which can do up
Yeah. You do need a little bit of hardware to actually run high quality 4K at 120 FPS, or now 5K, sorry, at 120 FPS and up to 360 FPS at 1080p. So there is a minimal amount of hardware that you do need. And I've stated that in the 5080 introduction video that I had.
Internet connection gotta be where it's at too. Like we always talk about that 5 gigahertz connection.
Yeah, your internet. You're right. Your internet needs to be where.
Even like we deal with issues with that, even with a wire connection, and we think that we're all set up. You gotta have a quality internet connection for it to even work properly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing too is NVIDIA offers this on multiple platforms, like TVs. TVs are not going to have the encoding to push this as hard as an actual decoding video card.
Yes. It's now granted it's getting better because LG is like the first one. LG is the first one to actually have 4K 120 FPS capable streaming. So to your point, real quick, I don't support 4K GeForce Now on TVs yet. 1080p is still the way to go. Okay, if you want snappy gameplay. Like I've had hiccups, even on Ethernet on TVs at 4K. It is what it is. It is what it is at this point. It's getting better year after year, though. The hardware on TVs and other devices will keep getting better every year.
120 frames per second. Well, it's already not completely bug-free. Second attempt. Oh, this is fun. If you interact with the Steam interface before the VM finishes launching and then opens up the game, you can actually see system information.
He's actually in game and he's looking up the Steam stuff. But yes, if you do this before it loads the game, it will kick you out. So he's actually in game and doing this. Yes, you can bring up Steam while you're in game and look at this. But yeah, he says beforehand. I found that interesting.
8 physical CPU cores gives us a clock speed, but that doesn't tell us how much it boosts to. Yes, sir, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle gives us an RTX 5080 as advertised, except what? With 48 gigs of VRAM? Clearly, this is not a 5080 then. It's probably an RTX Pro 5000 Blackwell, which is obviously a much more expensive GPU, except for NVIDIA. They make them so they can pay however much they feel like for them, I guess.
He's saying everything I want to say.
It's a 5080 equivalent.
Yes, we've had reveals. I had reveals. We talked about this a lot earlier about what NVIDIA was going with the 5080 upgrade, and it was revealed that it was the RTX Pro 6000 server edition, and he's saying it, and I'm surprised NVIDIA actually let him do it. But I don't know if this is like an actual sponsored NVIDIA. I don't think it is by NVIDIA. So he might have just covered it because he wanted to.
You're right.
Because he can.
Because he can.
Well, he needed to update that last one.
Right. He's on a good side, but not playing super nice, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Our monitor refresh rate at 120 hertz. Windows 11, yeah, I guess they could. If they want the best game support, yeah, that makes sense. And the OS itself doesn't need to handle any kind of specific virtualization stuff. It just needs to run in a virtual environment. 57 gigs of RAM. Okay. No, that actually makes sense because they would reserve some of the system memory for the hypervisor, and then whatever's left, they would divide up evenly for all of the VMs that are running. I believe is going to work perfectly this time. Hey, oh, I can feel the latency already. In fairness though, it's a lot easier to feel on a mouse than it is with a camera. And in fairness, guys, this is the first game that was designed from the ground up to require ray tracing hardware for its lighting. And seeing this run on a couple generation old mainstream card at 120 frames per second, 4K, and wow, I mean, looks pretty damn good, doesn't it? Sharp even. I do notice some blockiness and a little bit of compression, especially when in motion, but I wouldn't say that it feels like playing at 120 frames per second locally, but it's very usable. I think the most impressive thing about the image quality though is that we're not even at the highest setting. We're running at 60 megabit and we're running at 120 FPS. And my understanding is it can go as high as 100 megabit if you're in the cinematic mode, whereas this is balanced.
So there's a difference between what he's saying. It is running at 120, but it doesn't feel like it because of the latency. So it's a very different thing. It looks like it, but it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
It's all about the delay he's mentioning.
Yes.
Because NVIDIA's not lying here, but neither is he.
Right. And that's the thing. It's all about how you feel. And everybody's going to feel it differently.
Right.
And I'd probably prefer to play in balanced. It looks good enough, and the latency is better. If you didn't tell me anything, I'd say I'm probably running at around 75, 80 FPS local, because that additional latency feels like a little bit lower frame rate. It's improved a lot since the last time I used it. And I'm on a mouse. I should try with a controller where it's even harder to tell how much latency there is. Do we have one? I wouldn't notice. Damn impressive.
How does this compare to your last impressions of GeForce Now?
Even 4 years ago, it was pretty good. Now it's even better. And with a controller from a reasonable distance, I don't think I would notice that this is not running on local hardware. I wouldn't think it's 120 frames per second, but I would think it's running right on this computer right here. Our next game is going to be Borderlands 4. But before we do that, I want to experience cinematic mode for myself. And while one of the features of the ultimate tier is that you can go into the game settings menu and alter things, there are certain elements that you have to configure before you launch the VM. And this is one of them. Never mind, we got stuck on the dreaded loading user profile bug and we were not able to launch cinematic Indiana Jones. Seriously, we tried like many times. Borderlands it is. I think
this happens to you guys a lot, right? This never happens to me.
Not to me.
I don't have my Steam account synced. Usually.
This has happened to me on. Oh, what game was it? Give me a second. Oh, it wasn't Cyberpunk. It was something though.
Mm-hmm.
I was having an issue with a specific game. It might have been Marvel Rivals.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And eventually I got through it, but it was an issue for me with only one game, and I had to like reset. I had to get GeForce Now to like stop remembering my Steam settings to get it to function, and it was bad because they don't let you access that kind of stuff while you're inside,
right?
Because it launches the game immediately. So if your Steam settings get saved poorly, you have no recourse to fix it.
Right.
I don't know if that's the same thing with him, but that was my problem with Marvel Rivals because it would just straight through.
It's real fast. It loads real fast.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say it doesn't happen to me a lot. It's every so often that I'll deal with the issue with that, but it just happens.
Yeah.
It's important to acknowledge these sorts of bugs as part of evaluating the experience. Now this I like. This is an art style that lends itself extremely well to compression. And don't mistake any of my lack of skill for the game not running correctly. This is kind of freaking awesome. Anything with a first-person view, I'm going to be able to tell that the mouse movements have an extra 25 milliseconds total. Extra. I'm going to say 30. And so it should. I mean, this is one of the first games that was validated as being optimized for their new Blackwell servers. Which means what exactly? I mean, obviously a 5080 can run anything that a 4080 can, so we think this list is likely less about working on the new servers and more about NVIDIA identifying which games they feel require a 5080 for an optimal experience. To test this, we fired up Control on a 5080 enabled account and a 5080 enabled location and noticed that we were dropped down to an older 4080 server because that was all it really needed. On the subject of control, I mentioned before that NVIDIA gives us control over the in-game settings. So what I wanted to do is set this to exactly Gearbox's recommended settings for an RTX 5080 and see if our VM is bottlenecked in some way where it doesn't give us an optimal experience. Here we go, and wow, that looks way better. Also, this is still running at over 200 frames per second in-game, which is more than enough to stream it at 120 FPS. With that said, I can definitely see stuff that doesn't look that great with compression artifacts. Like, see what's happening as I go through these God rays? Ooh, that's a yuck, yuck, yuck. I'm not even getting the benefit of the extra level of detail and stuff like this grass. It just ends up looking kinda gross when I'm in motion. Still, if I'm paying for Ultimate, I would appreciate the ability to be able to set this stuff. And you can even configure GeForce Now to remember your settings. So the next time you launch it, if there's something you like better, you can totally do that. It feels like the late.
Yeah, I've been noticing with a lot of these games, because I actually want to do a video. I've been saying I want to do a video covering, you know, the cinematic quality streaming, and I've been wanting to. I actually did some footage already. I actually covered the game with or CQS with what was it, Wukong. That's the one I wanted to do, and I've noticed that.
Is it usually really the foliage? Because that's what we always had issues with
yeah, I don't see any differences.
It happens.
Yeah. So if you're wondering where that video is, guys, it's I'm gonna have to do some more research on some of my older videos on that on that game to see if there is even more compression back then than there is now, because I compared the 4080 to the 5080 now. I didn't see any differences. So I'm sure they're doing the best, you know what I'm saying? You know, they're doing the best, and the AI or whatever filter and all that good stuff. It's just, if you're at the top already, how do you top yourself?
Well, remember, the raw power of the 5080 versus the 4080 is, what was it, like 13% or something with raw power? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, it's not much.
It's low.
It's not much.
So it depends how much frame generation and AI features they can cram in there with the new gen comparatively to actually get beyond that percentage. If this game doesn't support that kind of stuff, or those advantages, those incremental shortcuts they take to get beyond 15% better are going to fall to the wayside.
Yeah. And I agree. I just, you know, now you're kind of expecting almost movie-centric quality, and I guess you can only get but so good as of for right now, even with at 100 megabits per second.
I mean, that is how they kind of advertise it, though.
Yeah, that's how they advertise it.
Yeah.
So I've been holding off on that video just because I was like, maybe I need to do some more research. Yeah. So, yeah, but that's where it is, and that's what he sees too.
Latency might be a touch higher here, so it's possible that NVIDIA had things turned down to ensure that the GPU doesn't get overburdened by the encoding and then end up running a little bit slower. Let's drop it down to 1440p and see what happens. Oh boy. Oh, I still definitely suck at video games. Oh, distant objects, definitely fuzzier. If you have a 4K monitor, you're gonna wanna use it. And I gotta say, I don't think the latency is really much better. Like maybe we gain back another 10 milliseconds, 5? It's still very noticeable in a first-person application like this. I would wanna play at 4K if I could. Garbage in, garbage out when it comes to compression, man. So the cleaner an image you can put into this thing, the better it's gonna look once you transmit it over the internet. Time to find out if I'm right about the latency with a little device called an LDAT. This is a creation from NVIDIA. It basically automates mouse clicks, and then it checks for the muzzle flash, measuring the time between the click and the weapon firing. So this is adding more like 50 milliseconds plus. Damn. Of course, we won't know the exact amount until we throw a 5080 into this machine and actually run that. And we can't do that until we do one more game.
This is something to talk about with how it looks versus how it feels again. I mentioned this before.
Yeah.
It can look 120 FPS, but when your latency is mixed in, this is how it'll feel different when you're playing locally. 120 FPS is like 8.3, I think, 8 1/3. Each frame is your millisecond count. So when he says it feels, what he said, 25
he said he
frames
could
per second, that is 3 frames shorter on a 120 stream, but because the latency, you feel it at that rate, you're feeling 3 frames behind, you're actually dividing it by 3. So it plays like it's at 40 FPS, even though it visually looks 120. That's when he's talking about this like sluggish play, how it feels. And that's a huge deal. That's also why the reflex that they added is such a big deal, because you're cutting out most of that delay. And really, NVIDIA's reflex does a lot more to increase that than you'd think, because it gets rid of that millisecond delay, and it makes it feel less like cutting a third. Maybe it's only cut into 2/3 with reflex.
I guess the milliseconds would add up with reflex, depending on how many frames there are.
Right, and that goes a long way to making it feel better.
Overall.
Yeah, because when you say you lose 2 frames per second on 120, it doesn't sound bad, but when you realize it's actually dividing the frame rate by that FPS, then you're getting a little slower. So if his estimates on latency are correct, it's telling, because it's hard to translate that even when we make videos, we can tell you how many are, we can run it, it's accurate,
right? But
the feel is a whole nother story.
It is. And then you add that with your latency just going back and forth and all that kind of jazz. There's a whole different set of variations that can go for every single person. So I get questions all the time. The same question: how's the input lag? It's like, well, you have an hour? It's just.
And we explain it like that. The other thing too is I've had people play it, and I've had other people play it. And like my boy Drew, who played a lot of Counter-Strike, he can pick up on that 2-frame annoyance. But, Jackie or whoever else who tries it, they can't tell the difference at all.
Right.
So it depends on your genre, and it depends on your experience in Twitch competitive games, if it even matters.
Right, which is why a lot of cloud gaming is going casual, because they don't care.
Yeah, and that's my biggest thing.
Casuals don't care, yeah.
Maybe that's where I come into it. I don't care about that stuff.
Right.
For me, it's like, even to make the comment that you understand 25 milliseconds, don't get me wrong. I know there's going to be people out there watching this video saying, no, he's absolutely right. But for me, who's just like, I just want to play a great game. I don't want it to be blurry. I want it to at least seem like every time I click a button or click my mouse that my shot is getting shot. I'm okay with that. Them 2 to 3 frames, I would really have to sit here and start studying that to really care.
Right, yeah.
It kind of contradicts his previous statement. Like, he says he's bad at video games.
But you can
But then he can feel that 25 millisecond. He might be a special case, though. He is a weird kind of specialist.
Yeah.
No,
I think he's just kind of making fun of himself. Like, we don't take ourselves too seriously anymore, because my Counter-Strike days are over. You know, what I mean? Like, I'm holding back on making that 5080 Counter-Strike video right now, because it's just like, dang, man, do I really want to go back to Counter-Strike right now? You know what I'm saying? And testing all of this. Like, that's.
I miss those days, though, man.
I know. I mean, it's over 20 years ago for me now.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? I was on a clan. I was doing things. You know what I'm saying? But now it's like, I don't even want to touch the game. This game is older than many people playing it right now, and guys, I want something different. You know. But that's just me right now. That's just me. I'm old now.
Spiciest game yet. See, PC Gamer said that they could not tell the difference between local hardware and GeForce Now while playing Apex Legends at 1440p on medium to low settings. That was before it was rolled out publicly.
You're about to just go over everything we just said.
Different geographic.
Well, I mean, well, here's the thing. He's talking about Apex here, and you know how we hate Apex. Anyone out there wondering why we don't cover Apex, because we can't stand the game. And no offense.
I abandoned y'all
no offense
too.
to anyone out there who really plays Apex, okay? We can't stand it, Okay, if it
No
is
comment.
a pain for us because, I mean, I swear Apex is like the most hardcore VR out there. It is not for casuals, and like I just said, I am not trying to go that route. You know what I'm saying?
That's a constant problem for
starting
us, though.
from like the first time I started Apex was starting this channel. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, let's do Apex. The first time I played was on GeForce Now 3080 tier, and it's like, who are we playing against?
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
No.
I swear it was like I was getting one tapped, and it's like I never played a game before in my life. So
That's a problem for us in a lot of these games, though, is they take so much time to get competitive.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we don't have enough time to get competitive at all
Yeah.
of them.
Location, so we're not sure that we can 100% replicate their test conditions, but what we can do is play the game and see if we agree. To try to replicate their experience, I've set everything to low to medium settings, whatever exactly it is that means. It feels way better than Borderlands. Like, way better than Borderlands.
yeah, like I said in my review, man, it felt kind of clunky, and it's like I get it that frame trend is on and all that good stuff, but you know, it's not a well-made game. Plus Unreal 5. This is not that. If I remember correctly, Apex is made off of the Source engine, a modified version of the Source engine, and that's 20 years old too.
Dude, I would guess that this is a solid like 25 milliseconds better than what I just played.
No, for sure.
Okay,
Source
I need
is
the
an
LDAT
efficient
back.
engine, though.
A very big difference. However, and this is kind of hard to know how to explain to you guys, the difference we're measuring right now could be because this game runs way better in GeForce Now. It could also just be run-to-run variance, because when they tested Borderlands at the same settings that I was using just now, when they were prepping for this video, they got more like 50 milliseconds, like way better than what I got. That's the thing about cloud gaming. The experience can be great, and other times it can be not as great. Just ask Luke. He knows. Dude, this is way better. Like, we're averaging freaking 45 milliseconds. This is very playable, and we have seen only a fraction of its full power. I want to try the 360 hertz competitive mode. In order to get the most out of competitive mode, though, we need to reconfigure our display. This is a dual mode display from LG, so it was running at 4K 120 hertz before, and now we've reconfigured it to run at 1080p 360 hertz. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm very curious on what monitor he's using, but anyway.
The image quality is not as good. Like, that's pretty rough. But the latency, if you told me this was local and just, you know, not that great of a computer, dude, I think I believe you. And not just because I'm on a controller or whatever, like with Indiana Jones, like in a Twitch shooter. But I'm gonna say 25. Man, I'm good. That's really impressive. 25 milliseconds, full chain. I mean, back when we were gaming on 60 hertz monitors, that would have been impressive even, because that's up to 16 milliseconds right there, just from the monitor. What's interesting though is this time my results are the same as when my team tested it a week ago. Maybe I just got a more favored connection when I put it in competitive mode. That's a possibility. But another possibility is that by running at such a high frame rate, NVIDIA is able to pare down the total latency. You can really feel it. Now the question is it worth what we're giving up compared to if we just spend the money up front and get a GPU? Let's check it in. Now,
Could we get an LDAT?
I wouldn't hate it.
Maybe.
It's another tool.
Would be. I think you could do some interesting tests with it.
Yeah.
You got one.
I'll look into it.
I fully recognize that most people are buying GeForce Now because they don't have a 5080 in their gaming PC, but we have the luxury of trying them side by side, so the way that I see it, we should. And I gotta tell ya, yeah, it looks a lot better, but if I was my brother-in-law, sorry Alec, I probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. At 1080p, you're still getting a bunch of, shimmering and aliasing all over everything. And in some ways it looks worse here. So you're kind of trading one version of low fidelity for another one. As for the latency, yeah, It's lower, but not in a way that my weak human body could probably perceive without really focusing on it. Boop. Yes, it's lower, can confirm. Not using the internet to stream your game video is faster, a lot faster, about 15 milliseconds, which is cool because that actually tells us, best case scenario, running at 360 hertz, how much latency is NVIDIA's encoding and transmission of this video data actually adding? And the answer is not that much, like 15 milliseconds. Oregon, the GPU that we were gaming on was. Now it's right here. That only cost me 15 freaking milliseconds. Of course, this was at 1080p, so this is kind of the worst case scenario for the local experience. Let's see how we feel about it once we're running at, 4K with all the eye candy turned on. I think we could just go straight to Indiana Jones. Sure. I don't know that we need Borderlands. Jumping into Borderlands, this immediately looks way better. But I gotta admit, something I didn't really think about before when we were testing GeForce Now is that a bunch of our latency was actually added by FrameGen, not by video encoding and not by our distance to the NVIDIA data center. So even though I'm running this locally, it's a little bit on the higher side. The animation is super smooth because we're probably running at hundreds of frames per second, but because we're running at 3x FrameGen, just like NVIDIA was, feels a little yellowy, if you kind of get what I mean by that. Man.
It's faster, but it's like when we used to play online games and someone's internet connection would cut out, but they would still run and then they'd reappear back here. It's like that, but just at a quicker level because FrameGen has no idea what you're going to do next.
Yeah.
There's sort of two different versions of it. It's definitely better. It looks so smooth, but it feels so spongy. Say 35. 30. Damn. To its credit, FrameGen bamboozled me here. I don't know what's more interesting here. The fact that FrameGen seems to be adding almost as much latency as GeForce Now was, or the fact that my perception of it is better than it actually is. It's definitely the kind of thing that, like older TVs, if you're a good enough gamer, you can get used to it.
When we tested locally without FrameGen, it was 20 milliseconds, just under.
So it's adding like 20 milliseconds, and then it was only, what, like another 25 to get to the GeForce Now results? Like, that's crazy. Here we go, and yeah.
So here's the thing. He said if you get used to it, it's not really a big thing, and that's the thing. I don't play local for a lot of games. I just don't anymore. It's mostly on cloud gaming platforms. So I am, I can get through a lot of things with a lot of latency. That's something I've picked up on, like playing from here to India. Okay, I think I capped out at almost 400 milliseconds. I know it's crazy, right?
That's like going back to 1999. I ain't really feeling that.
Just getting through, like, I still can't believe the only way I was getting killed in Helldivers 2 that one time was, I think you killed me, Nat. Either you.
Betrayal.
I think you killed me. I was like, oh man, I think I got this. And
real quick though, to my credit though, we all know in Helldivers, if I just touch you, it can say that I killed you. So that's still up for debate if I actually did that.
But yeah, I'm a special case. So it's like, I'm just like, deal with it. It's New Game Plus for me. So it's Legendary Plus, it's Veteran Plus. Just deal with it. Be better, But a lot of people can, going from their local to this, it's like, oh, they can feel it immediately.
It's sharper, but one of the things that I didn't realize because I hadn't done a side-by-side yet is that part of the blockiness that I was observing was probably just the game's built-in film grain filter not being interpreted that well. To go back, I'd probably just turn that off and it would help at least a little bit. The latency is obviously better though, and that's not something that I could fix just by turning off film grain though. Man, this is a beautiful looking game. Either running locally or with GeForce Now. Clearly, you're getting more with local hardware in terms of the feel and in terms of the image quality, which totally makes sense. I mean, streaming, by definition, can only add overhead compared to bare metal. But that doesn't mean that the value proposition is total trash either. It's true what the devil said. If you commit and buy GeForce Now annually, you're paying $1,000, which is the RTX 5080's MSRP, over 5 years. And during that time, you probably won't need to upgrade your other hardware. So if you're on a 5-year upgrade cycle for your computer, that's some pretty significant savings. And if it works as well on LG TVs and Chromebooks as
And here's the thing, it's not a 5-year cycle anymore, it's a 2-year cycle. Because, well, 3 in terms of, well, 2.5.
Well, I
in
don't
terms
go
of the
every
last
generation.
cycle. So
I don't normally buy. I usually skip a gen or two between my video cards.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's not just video cards. It's if you're upgrading everything, you're going to upgrade
Sure.
your CPU, you're going to upgrade your RAM. It all depends on your motherboard. If your CPU will accept previous generations of RAM or the next generation, all that, all that plays a factor. So it's like it's people seem to think it's just the GPU. It's like, no. When you upgrade, you have to upgrade in sync with your CPU and your GPU and your RAM. So
Right.
you're gonna be spending a lot more than just $1,000 for your 5080, or I guess what would be the 6080 next. So it's like, how much are you really spending and saving? You might be saving a lot of money doing this. If it works really well for you in your situation, you'll be saving a lot of money.
Another point too, I would say, going back to what we talked about just with casual gamers in general, it makes the most sense. You don't have to think about anything. Like you said from the beginning, it's like, rent everything, own nothing. I forget the statement, but it's like own nothing, everything like that. But like for someone like myself who isn't a competitive gamer, who's someone who's not going to worry about that stuff when you talk about milliseconds and latency, as long as it just works properly, this just makes sense.
Yeah.
Think
You'll
about it.
own nothing and be happy.
Yeah, that's what it is. Own nothing. You couldn't think of the term, but yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. Like, you can just throw your hands up, press play, and you're good
to go.
Yeah.
NVIDIA says, you might not need a computer at all. But the Angel meant to make some pretty good points too. You don't own your cloud gaming PC, which puts you completely at NVIDIA's mercy for price increases and hardware upgrades. At least you can install your own Steam Cloud supported games now, but unless you pay extra,
that's games that are opted into GeForce Now, which is a very low number of games.
Still can't play
They're out
Elden
there.
Ring. Still can't play my favorite game.
I know, you still can't play your favorite. No GTA, guys. No
Still
GTA.
can't play GTA.
At least not yet. Hopefully that comes. But yeah.
Yeah, you got to get on
you
Stadia
imagine
for that. Oh,
GTA
wait.
5 on GeForce Now before GTA 6.
to NVIDIA for persistent storage, you're gonna need to install those fresh every time you fire up GeForce Now. And yeah, what if your internet goes down? Steam has an offline mode, but GeForce Now? That makes every game always online, all the time. And this entire conversation completely ignores that if you're in a rural area that doesn't have fiber, or if you just happen to be on a node that's unreliable or far away, you can just forget the whole thing. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
Sponsor.
And that'll end that.
This is a pretty accurate portrayal of what's going on, I think.
Yeah.
It's honestly better than I expected not to.
Honestly,
Dump on him.
especially from the last time we covered that from 4 years ago. I can't believe it's been 4. Well, I mean, we covered it late, but it's much different than it was 4 years ago.
I do like this devil guy.
Oh yeah, he's great.